If you could have one superpower, which would you choose and what would you do with this power?
Ooh. I am going to give you an answer that might surprise you.
Hello everybody, this is Jack from Fluency.com and welcome to this special lesson where my wife and I ask each other questions using the second, third and mixed conditionals. It's going to give you fantastic listening practice, and by the end of the lesson you should have a better understanding of how we use these conditionals. Be sure to watch until the end because I have a question for you. Let's get started. Okay, question 1.
Yes.
If you had $10,000 and you had to spend it within 24 hours, what would you buy?
Oh, that's a great question. And I have to spend it.
You have to spend it within 24 hours.
Okay. So I would have to spend it today. Let me think.
Or tomorrow morning.
I think that I would buy a car.
A car?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think I could probably get a really nice used car for $10,000. Right now, I'm driving a minivan, which is lovely. I really like it. Our son loves it.
Yep.
He thinks it's a spaceship. But I think that I would spend that $10,000 to get just something a little bit newer, maybe a little bit smaller. And maybe I would buy something that would be like red or fun.
Cool.
Still a family car, but this is maybe my midlife crisis.
And I like the restriction because you only have 24 hours, so you can't maximize that decision. You have to straight away think about what you would get.
I would get.
So a red car.
A red car.
A red car?
Yeah.
Cool.
And then my second conditional question is kind of going to piggyback on that.
Cool.
So to follow it. So if you had $10,000, because that's the amount we're working with, to give to any cause, what would you give it to?
So I have been thinking about this recently, and I would give some to a local charity.
Okay. Do you have any kind of local charity in mind?
I think Manor Food Bank.
Okay.
Or any kind of charity that helps children who don't have enough to eat. I think that's what I would spend half of it on that. And then the other half maybe for international children, refugees, mainly children though.
Yeah, you want to help children get food.
Definitely.
If they're hungry.
Yeah.
That's what you would spend it on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah, thank you. Question 2, and be careful how you answer this.
Okay.
If you hadn't met me in Ecuador, what do you think you would be doing now?
Okay. All right. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
If I hadn't met you in Ecuador, could I have met you later?
Let's just say if you hadn't met me.
At all.
At all.
I think if I hadn't met you, I would just be wandering the earth, sad and lost, looking for my soulmate. No pressure.
Let's end it there.
I think so. I think I can't win that question.
No. Okay, your second question.
Okay. Jack. If you had to have any career besides teaching English online, what would it be?
A football manager. I would choose to be a football manager. And that's because I'm a little bit too old now to even think about playing.
This is a hypothetical question. You could be anyone you wanted to be. Would you be the player or the manager?
Right now, I would prefer to be the manager.
Okay.
Yeah, because I love football, and I feel like I would be a really good manager.
I think you would be too.
Yeah.
And not just because I love you.
Yeah.
But
Although I'm not doing very well at fantasy football this year.
Uh-oh.
I think I'm second bottom in the table.
Whoa.
But that's completely different to managing a football team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to play football manager games for hours and hours and hours.
I do know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I nearly started again. Actually, I played it while we've been together a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Being a football manager, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say a football manager.
Can I ask you another question? I thought of some silly ones. If your name wasn't Jack, what would you want it to be?
Max, I used to want to be called Max.
Okay.
And then strangely, Butch for a while. It was a bit of a joke that I was going to call my son Butch.
Uh-huh. But it wasn't a joke.
Well, it was one of those jokes that kind of becomes reality. If you could have one superpower, which would you choose, and what would you do with this power?
Ooh. I am going to give you an answer that might surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
And that has no practical application in my life today. If I could have any superpower, I would like to be able to breathe underwater.
And why?
That's a really good question. Because when I was little, I really believed that becoming a mermaid was a career option. You know,
A career
I was
option?
like,
It is a career option.
Yeah, I know, but a real mermaid.
Oh.
A real mermaid,
Right.
you know, that I could actually like live under the water and I don't know, be a fish veterinarian, like a marine biologist that also lived in the ocean. I feel really silly right now. But I would want to breathe underwater. And I think I would just use it to like chill out. I couldn't imagine anything more relaxing than just being able to hang out underwater.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But would you be a mermaid if you could breathe underwater? Does
You know
that
what?
make you a mermaid?
I think that's a little bit too far. I don't think I want to be a mermaid anymore. I just want to be able to, like, you know, just subtle gills, just to breathe underwater.
Right.
You know, casually.
Okay.
I wouldn't want it to be my profession.
Not anymore.
No.
But maybe it would be once you start this whole process.
No. I just want to keep business and pleasure separate.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want it just for like weekend relaxation.
Okay.
Just, you know,
Yeah.
be quiet and
So
peaceful.
we'll go to the beach at the weekend and
Yeah, and I'll say, I'll see you in a few hours. I'm just going to hang out.
So you could have
Underwater.
any superpower and you choose to breathe underwater for no apparent reason.
Yep, that's right.
Question 3.
I kind of want to know what your answer to that would be.
Superpower.
Briefly, but then I have another question.
Oh, it would be to fly.
Oh, and what would you do with your
Fly
special
everywhere.
superpower? Okay.
But that's very practical
All right, how is that practical?
because I can fly to the office.
Okay.
I can be the coolest dad at school by flying my son home on my back.
Yeah, that would be pretty
I
cool.
could fly back home to see my friends.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So you'd be like a
need to
long-distance flyer.
as
International.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't need to get a drone. Just hold a camera
Yeah.
and fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can always sell your car and I can get my car if it comes to that.
Okay. Last question.
And then my last question is, if you could change anything about society, what would you change?
Oh, why would you? That's such a tough question.
I know.
Anything about society.
Anything at all.
Can I make it fun? Because I
guess,
feel like there's a lot of
yes.
responsibility to say, you know, no
You know, solve poverty,
no
racism.
war.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I get that.
But if I could make it fun, society, I'd say, so hard. Why'd you ask me these hard questions? Wednesday afternoons would be dedicated to sport, not just for school, but for work and business too. So every business would either, you know, arrange a football, soccer game, and they would play every Wednesday, table tennis, It could be computer games as well for people who prefer that.
Computer games.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's now a sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very competitive. So I'd say Wednesday afternoons around the world, everyone would just play sport in a very fun way. So people can be more active and also people can watch this too.
Is
Wednesday
this
afternoons everywhere.
your subtle way of trying to get all your friends to play on your soccer team?
No, but we do need players.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, Wednesday afternoons, perfect thing to do.
Hey.
We used to have this when I was at school and college. Wednesday afternoons, sports
Did you
time.
look forward to Wednesday?
Oh, yeah.
See, that's so funny because Wednesday can be the hardest day of the week.
Exactly.
It's called sometimes like hump day because you get to Wednesday and it's just so hard to get there, and then the rest of the week is basically the weekend.
So it's the perfect day to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. I hope you found that lesson useful. If you did, then please share it with your friends. Here is a question for this lesson. If you could have any superpower, which one would you choose and what would you do with it? Leave your answers below. Thank you so much for watching.